tickets to an NFL game for just $6. That's not a typo. You could see Myles Garrett versus Lamar Jackson live for less than the price of a McDonald's meal. And while some people might laugh at that, Browns fans aren't laughing anymore. They're confused, frustrated, and some are flat out done. Because this isn't about cheap seats, it's about a team that's slowly losing the one thing that matters most, its fans. So, how did it come to this? Why have Browns tickets dropped lower than some high school games? And what does it say about the coaching, the quarterback situation, and the future of the entire franchise? One name keeps coming up in every comment section, every post, every conversation: Shadūr Sanders. And today, we're breaking down the real reason Browns fans have stopped showing up and how one bold move could change everything overnight. When people saw Browns tickets dropping to $6, a lot of fans shook their heads, but they weren't surprised. In fact, the only surprising part is that it didn't happen sooner. This didn't come out of nowhere. It's not just a sudden drop in demand. It's a slow collapse, weeks in the making, maybe even years. A steady decline in one thing: faith. Faith in the product, faith in the leadership, faith that anything on the field is actually moving forward. And now, the evidence is clear, sitting right there on every ticket resale site. You can take your pick: Browns home games being listed for single-digit prices, people practically giving them away. That's not normal, not for the NFL. Even struggling franchises don't usually crash this hard. But what's happening in Cleveland isn't just about performance, it's about connection. That invisible bond between a team and its city, and what happens when it finally snaps. Ask any longtime Browns fan, they've been through the pain, the losses, the rebuilds, the quarterbacks that came and went like seasons. But they were always there. Because it felt like there was at least a path, a future being built. Now, it feels like drift. Like no one's really driving the bus, and everyone's waiting for something to magically fix itself. So fans are done waiting. It's like the breaking point finally hit. The empty promises, the slow starts, the regurgitated press conferences where every tough question gets dodged. They've stopped expecting answers, and now they've stopped showing up. And that's where it hits hardest in the seats. Because whether you realize it or not, empty stadiums are loud. They send a message that's impossible to ignore. They say, "We're not angry anymore, we're just checked out." And that's worse than booing. Booing means people still care. Now, let's be clear, this isn't just about losing a few games. Fans are loyal. They can handle losses. What they can't handle is feeling like their loyalty means nothing. They can't handle seeing the same exact mistakes repeated every week and still hearing the coach say, "We're working to fix it." They can't handle watching an offense that feels lifeless while the rest of the league evolves and adapts. They can't handle silence from leadership while the season spirals. So, when the Browns continue to show up with the same quarterback, the same play calling, and the same energy week after week, fans have stopped believing change is coming. And when you look at the ticket prices, that's what you're really seeing. Not just a dollar amount. You're seeing emotion turning into apathy. $6 doesn't mean the game has no value. It means the hope has dried up. Because let's be real, people don't invest in what they don't believe in. Whether it's sports, business, or anything else, belief is what sells. And right now, the Browns brand isn't just struggling, it's sinking. The organization is facing something far deeper than a quarterback controversy or a losing record. It's losing trust. And the thing about trust is, once it's gone, ticket prices are the first red flag. They dip when fans feel ignored, they dip when passion turns into disappointment, and they plummet when nobody inside the building seems to understand why the seats are empty in the first place. So you've got to ask, does the team even see what's happening? Because to most fans watching this unravel, it feels like no one's sounding the alarm. No urgency, no changes. Everyone just marching forward, pretending like this isn't a slow-motion collapse. At this point, it's not about missing the playoffs, it's about missing the point. Fans aren't just fans anymore, they're the warning signal. Their reaction is the clearest feedback the team can get. And right now, that reaction is echoing throughout the league. Do something, fix this, or risk losing everything. But here's the part that stings most. This whole collapse might be avoidable. Because while the energy is gone, the fans aren't gone not yet. They haven't walked away forever. They're just waiting for a reason to come back. One bold move, one clear change, one sign that the team actually hears them could flip the script entirely. So the question becomes, is anyone inside that locker room paying attention? Or will they just wait for rock bottom and hope anyone's still watching by the time they hit it? At some point, frustration turns into something worse: silence. That's what's happening now in Cleveland. You can feel it in the atmosphere, online, at tailgates, and most clearly inside the stadium. Fans who used to scream at the refs, shout at the quarterback, or call into radio shows just to vent, they're now staying quiet, or staying home. Because when fans stop believing, they don't rage, they disengage. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Not just a drop in ticket sales, but a drop in connection. A fan base that has carried this team through decades of disappointment is now asking a brutal, honest question. Why should I still care? And the worst part? No one inside the organization seems ready or willing to answer that. Week after week, statements come out reminding everyone to stay patient, or trust the plan, or that it takes time to build something great. But fans aren't looking for greatness right now. They're just looking for effort, for direction, for honesty. Instead, they keep getting vague answers, recycled press sound bites, and performances that feel like reruns of the same problems. The same quarterback, the same playbook, the same excuses. And slowly, the emotional investment these fans have carried so proudly just starts to fade. You can see it in the stories pouring out online. Season ticket holders saying they're done. Grandparents who used to bring their kids to every game now, giving the seats away or letting them go entirely. One fan wrote, "I've been going to Browns games for 20 years. Last Sunday, I stayed home. I didn't even care we were playing." That's devastating. It's not because they stopped loving football. It's not because they stopped loving the Browns. It's because they stopped loving what the team has become. Cleveland has never been about glamour. This fan base never needed a superstar, a flashy record, or a perfect season to show up. What they have needed is a reason to believe the team was heading somewhere. That the pain was building toward progress. That the fight on the field meant something bigger. Now, it feels like even the fight is gone. And this didn't happen with one bad game. It's been building. Over seasons, through questionable decisions, inconsistent leadership, and a coaching staff that seems more committed to comfort than to change. Fans understand when a team loses. It happens. No one's asking this team to lift a Lombardi overnight. But what they are asking loudly is to see a spark. To feel some sign that somebody is fighting to turn this around. Instead, it looks like leadership is just coasting. Sitting back, running the same game plan every week, and hoping for a different result. And when fans see that, they relate it to their own commitment. If the people on the sideline don't care enough to make tough decisions, then why should the people in the stands? That's the shift. That's what takes a full stadium and turns it into a ghost town with tickets that cost less than a fast food combo meal. It's not a protest. It's surrender. A slow, painful surrender. And somehow, the people behind this team don't seem to realize how close they are to losing the only thing that's kept them afloat this long. A loyal, die-hard, all-weather fan base that's asking for less than it gives. Give them a team that shows effort. Give them a coach that answers questions. Give them something, anything to root for. Because right now, it feels like they're being asked to root for nothing. And that disconnect is turning into damage. Damage that could take years to undo. Because once fans walk away, they don't always come back. Not because they stopped loving the game, but because it hurts less to love it from a distance. That's where Cleveland is sitting right now, on the edge of a full-blown identity crisis. One that's not just about missing wins, it's about missing heart. And just when it feels like hope is gone, one name keeps surfacing. One player fans keep pointing to as the start of something new, someone who could bring energy, excitement, and maybe even dignity back to this franchise. So who is the name fans can't stop talking about? Let's talk about Shadūr Sanders. If there's one thing that's become impossible to ignore, it's the anger. It's on Twitter, it's in comment sections, it's in the stands, or rather the empty stands. Browns fans have officially hit a boiling point, and this time, it's not just noise, it's movement. The frustration that once came in waves has now turned into a full-on demand for change. Not tweaks, not patience, not progress behind closed doors. Change, right now. You can hear it in the viral clips. Fans shouting on live TV, "I don't care if they were free, I'm not going to another game till something changes." Another fan said, "At least be entertaining. We know we're not winning, but at least give us a reason to care." These aren't trolls trying to stir chaos. These are the most loyal supporters the Browns have, people who show up in the snow, the cold, the rain, still rocking their dog-pound gear even when there's nothing to cheer for. Now, even they're walking away. And what's crazy? So much of this could have been avoided. Because fans understand losing, but they don't understand repeating failure with no accountability. Game after game, the Browns step onto the field with the same quarterback, the same lifeless offense, and the same robotic play calling, and each time it falls apart, the answers are exactly the same. We need to clean things up. It's on me. We've got to be better. Okay, but better how? Better when? The responses have started sounding like pre-programmed scripts. No insight, no urgency, no plan. Just vague apologies and shrugging off responsibility as if fans won't notice they're watching a car crash in slow motion. And it's that disconnect not just on the scoreboard, but between the sidelines and the seats that has finally triggered this mass frustration. Because every week it becomes more obvious to fans what the real issue is. Leadership is stuck. And more specifically, the head coach doesn't seem willing to make the one move everyone else sees as obvious. And that's where Shadūr Sanders enters the picture. Fans have begun rallying behind one name they believe could change everything. Not because he's a superhero, not because he guarantees wins, but because he represents something new, the possibility of hope where the team has only delivered disappointment. Shedeur isn't some fantasy figure. He's young, fresh, confident, dynamic, and perhaps most importantly different. He doesn't come with the baggage of repeated failures. He doesn't represent the same tired story. He represents the reset fans have been screaming for. On social media, his name trends every time the Browns lose. Commentators speculate. Fans mock the current QB. And every time the offense stalls, a chorus from the internet asks the same thing. Why not just give Sanders a chance? Because at this point, nobody thinks he'll fix everything. But they do believe he could revive something: energy, unpredictability, even just excitement. Instead, game after game, the team trots out the same script and it gets uglier each time. Screen passes that get airmailed, drives that stall before they start. A defense that fights for its life while the offense can't score. And while every fan can see the ship sinking, Stefanski just keeps steering it straight ahead like there's no iceberg in sight. That's what infuriates people. It's not just that the Browns are losing, it's that they're losing on autopilot, refusing to even try the one move that could shift the narrative. Fans aren't just mad that they're losing games, they're mad they're being lied to, told everything's being evaluated, while week after week proves otherwise. What fans want isn't perfection, they want fight, passion, anything that proves the coach is still awake at the wheel. And right now, they're getting none of it. Even worse, they're starting to feel like Stefanski knows he's safe, and that's why he won't change. Why take a risk if your job isn't on the line? Why pivot when you think the front office still backs you? But fans don't see confidence, they see cowardice. A leader too cautious to take the bold step the whole city is begging for. And that's why it's all come to a head, because fans believe there is a way to shift this entire season, and it's spelled with one name, Shedūr. So what is it about Shadūr Sanders that has the fan base believing again even before he takes a single snap? Let's break down the player they believe could bring the spark this team has been missing all year. So here's the question every Browns fan is asking, and more are starting to demand: why isn't Shadūr Sanders starting? It's the name you hear again and again at tailgates, on podcasts, inside group chats, and across every major sports forum. Some are calling it desperation, others are calling it premature. But for fans living through the stale, lifeless reality of this Browns offense, Shedeur represents something that this team hasn't had in years: hope. Not hype, not headlines, hope. Because let's be honest, regardless of how polished he may be right now, Sanders brings something that can't be coached: fire. He moves with swagger, he owns the spotlight, and most importantly, he brings eyes and excitement, two things this team has completely lost. And that's not just about his background or what he did in college. It's about the way fans have responded to him without even seeing him take an NFL snap. Because while the leadership in Cleveland has gone quiet, Sanders is out there building a brand, showing confidence, and sounding like someone who's already ready for the pressure, not scared of it. And that alone, that matters more than most people realize. Fans don't connect to schemes. They don't fall in love with strategy boards. What they believe in is energy. Someone who walks onto the field and changes the atmosphere before the ball is even snapped. That's what Shedeur brings. He's not afraid of attention. He knows how to own a moment. And like it or not, the NFL is a show, and right now, the Browns have all the production value of a high school documentary. Slow, lifeless, and in black and white. But with Shedeur, people feel color, they feel personality, they feel identity, something this offense has completely lost. It's no wonder so many fans are practically begging for him to get a shot. They know it's not a guaranteed win. No one is pretending that he's going to walk onto the field and turn the team into playoff contenders overnight. That's never been the point. The point is that right now, every other option feels exhausted. Recycled passes, recycled playbooks, recycled explanations. Shedeur represents the newness, the unpredictability, the shakeup this locker room needs. He's not part of the problem. He's outside of it, untouched by all the losing, the excuses, and the excuses posing as patience. Even players seem to respond differently when a true spark walks into the huddle. Confidence is contagious, and right now, it feels like every part of this team, from the coach down to the bench, is carrying the weight of doubt and disappointment. But insert a guy like Shedeur, the whole tempo changes. The locker room has someone new to rally behind. The media has a fresh headline. The fans suddenly have a reason to show up instead of just scrolling highlights on their phone if they're even doing that anymore. It's not just about throwing for 300 yards. It's about belief. And in the NFL, especially in a city like Cleveland, belief can carry more value than even stats on a sheet. But still, week after week, Sanders sits on the bench, while fans quietly and loudly lose their minds. Why? Some say it's not his time yet. Others argue Stefanski wants to protect him. But the truth, nobody knows, because the organization won't say. And that silence, that is what makes people even more obsessed with seeing him start. Because when you're getting crushed every week, and your coach won't try the one thing everyone else is asking for, the demand only gets louder. Shedeur has become more than a quarterback in this situation. He's become a symbol of change, of potential, of a team that still has a future, if it's brave enough to claim it. And whether the front office realizes it or not, the fans already made up their minds. They've chosen where their belief lies, and it's not in the system, it's not in the coach. It's in the one name they're still willing to chant, Shadūr. At this point, the spotlight isn't just on the players, it's aimed squarely at Kevin Stefanski. And it's not just fans putting him under the microscope, it's the media, former players, and even his own locker room that seem to be quietly asking the same question. Is this coach completely disconnected from reality? Because when you zoom out and really look at what's happening, he's not just trying to fix a problem, he's starting to look like the problem. Every week, the Browns hit the field with the same broken formula: predictable play calling, lifeless offense. Same mistakes, same personnel, and somehow the post-game press conference is even more repetitive than the game itself. Ask him what went wrong. I gotta be better. Ask when he's going to make a change. I don't have an update there. Ask what the direction of the team is. We're working on it. It's like hitting repeat on a bad album, hoping the next track will sound better, but it never does. And fans? They've had enough. This isn't about hating the head coach. It's about holding him accountable for something that's clearly not working. It's about watching the rest of the league adapt, while Cleveland just sits back, watching the same quarterback run into the same wall over and over. Meanwhile, you've got Stefanski acting like everything's under control. But how can you possibly say that when ticket sales are collapsing, fan morale is in the basement, and your team is losing to backup quarterbacks with an offense that looks like it's running in slow motion? There's a saying, you either evolve or you get replaced. But right now, Stefanski is refusing to evolve and acting like his job is untouchable. That toxic mix of stagnation and stubbornness is becoming corrosive. One of the biggest red flags? He's not even acknowledging what the fans are begging for anymore. You think people haven't noticed? Everyone hears the buzz about Shadūr Sanders. Everyone sees that the team has zero offensive spark, and yet Stefanski won't even entertain the concept publicly. That silence doesn't make him look composed. It makes him look afraid. Afraid to admit the plan failed. Afraid to hand the reins to someone who might expose the system for what it really is. Or maybe worse, afraid that making a bold move and having it fail means facing consequences he's been dodging for seasons. But here's the truth. The do-nothing approach isn't keeping him safe anymore. It's actually making everything worse. Because every week Shedeur doesn't play, and the team posts another loss, the blame shifts from the quarterback to the coach. And the fans are turning on him. Not slowly, not quietly, They're chanting at games, mocking him online, and creating memes out of his monotone "I don't have an update" lines because it's the only answer he seems to have left. And when a coach reaches that point when your answers are memes, and your results are excuses, you're not leading a team. You're stalling for time. Let's call it what it is. Kevin Stefanski isn't under pressure because the Browns are losing. He's under pressure because the Browns are losing the same way every week, and he won't change anything. That's what turns a struggling coach into a crisis. The indecision, the refusal to listen, the stale identity that fans can't relate to anymore. Right now, Stefanski doesn't look like a man with a plan. And the worst part? It's not clear if he even believes he needs one. And it's not just external heat either. Inside the building, execs, players, staff, they know when a coach is on borrowed time. They can feel when energy is low, when the locker room tunes out, when the disconnect hits a breaking point. If it hasn't already, this could have been fixed. This could have been salvaged with a bold shakeup. But now, every second he waits, the change that fans begged for becomes the thing that might be too late. At some point, no risk becomes the biggest risk of all, especially when the guy taking no risks is the one driving the offense straight into the ground. So-called safe decisions don't look safe anymore. They look like fear. And no one follows fear. Fans are ready for something different, something real. And the longer Stefanski waits, the less likely it is that he'll be the one they trust to deliver it. The truth is, this isn't just about what he's doing wrong. It's about everything he refuses to do at all. If there's one decision that fans keep coming back to, the one that defines everything wrong with the Browns right now, it's this. Why is Dillon Gabriel still starting? Week after week, the offense stalls, the passing game disappears, and the scoreboard tells the same story. Still, Gabriel gets the nod. Still, nothing changes. And honestly, fans are beyond confused at this point. They're furious. Gabriel hasn't just been inconsistent. He's been outright ineffective. Overthrows on screens, missed reads, no rhythm, no confidence. It's not just about stats. It's about the complete lack of energy every time he steps on that field. It feels like football in slow motion. Every game starts the same conservative play calling. Soft passes, no urgency. Drives stall in the blink of an eye. And then the coach gives us the same explanation we've heard 50 times before. We just need to execute better. But fans aren't buying it, because if execution is the issue every single week, then why is the same guy under center? At some point, it's not about execution. It's about leadership. It's about the refusal to try anything new. It's about a head coach who would rather sink with the ship than hand the steering wheel to someone who might actually turn it around. And for Cleveland, that someone is Shadūr Sanders. Fans have made it abundantly clear. Every time Gabriel takes the field and the offense sputters, social media erupts with one question: where's Shedeur? Not even in frustration anymore, in desperation. Because they're not asking for a miracle, they're asking for a chance. A sign that the team actually wants to compete, not just survive. And Gabriel? He just doesn't represent that anymore. He doesn't energize the crowd. He doesn't challenge defenses. He doesn't scare opposing coordinators. And most importantly, he doesn't give fans a reason to believe anything will be different next week. The leash Stefanski has kept on him is baffling, especially when the Browns are losing to backup quarterbacks week after week. When games are on the line, Gabriel just can't deliver, and it's no longer just a cold fact on paper. It's painfully obvious when you watch it unfold live. So why stick with him? That's the question burning in every Browns fan's mind. What could possibly justify continuing to roll with a quarterback who hasn't shown growth, hasn't inspired confidence, and hasn't won games? It's not just bad coaching, it's stubbornness on full display. Even diehards are walking away. They're not angry because of one bad throw. They're angry because the coaching staff keeps pretending that nothing's wrong. That the failing formula is somehow going to work if they just keep grinding tape and saying the right things in front of a microphone. Newsflash, it's not working. And the longer Dillon Gabriel stays the starting quarterback, the more it feels like Kevin Stefanski is trying to prove something, not win something. It's like he's saying, "This is my guy, and I'm riding with him no matter what." That isn't loyalty, that's ego. And it's dragging everything down with it: the season, the locker room, and the fan base. Because fans aren't asking for perfection, they're asking for a season that feels like it still matters. And right now, the Browns are giving them 3 quarters of bland football followed by a post-game shrug. And let's be real, if Gabriel was lighting it up, no one would be begging for Shedeur, but he's not. And when you've got a young, dynamic quarterback sitting on the bench with more personality and upside than anything your offense has shown all year, people will start asking the obvious question: what are we even waiting for? At this point, not starting Shedeur doesn't just feel like poor judgment, it feels like refusing to use the only tool you haven't already broken. And that's where patience ends. That's where belief begins to collapse. Because when the team struggles, and the coach won't change, and the quarterback can't improve, fans don't just get restless. They start picturing what the season could have looked like if someone had the guts to make the switch. The pressure is no longer just on performance. It's now about pride, accountability, and whether leadership can admit when a decision has failed. And until that happens, the empty seats, quiet fans, and $6 tickets will keep telling the real story. Here, the Browns are losing a season they still had time to save, and it's all because someone refused to take a chance on the one thing that might have changed everything. There's one theory that keeps making its way around social media. It's in Reddit threads, it's in live chat streams, it's even being tossed around on sports shows. Kevin Stefanski isn't starting Shadūr Sanders because he doesn't need to. The theory? His job is safe. No matter how bad the season looks, no matter how empty the stadium gets, no matter how much the fans beg for change, Stefanski knows ownership won't touch him. And because of that, the thinking goes, he doesn't feel pressured to take risks. He's playing it safe, riding out the season with Dillon Gabriel, sticking to his script and protecting his long-term plan. But here's the problem with that theory. If this is what safe looks like, constant losses, fan outrage, $6 ticket prices, and a completely disconnected locker room, then what exactly is he saving? Because what's happening right now isn't playing it smart. It's not patience. It's not strategy. It's something far more dangerous. Stubbornness disguised as control. And it's backfiring in real time. The idea that Stefanski can just ignore the situation because his seat isn't hot, that illusion is already falling apart. Because every week he refuses to change, the pressure increases, not decreases. From the outside looking in, it may look like confidence, like a coach staying cool under fire. But to fans, it looks like fear. Not the fear of losing a game, but the fear of being proven wrong. At first, supporters thought maybe Stefanski was protecting Shedeur, waiting for the right moment, trying not to rush the rookie. But after 3, 4, 5 weeks of the same broken offense, it no longer feels like a plan. It feels like flat-out delay. And by now, that delay has started tipping from questionable to reckless. Because here's the truth. The longer you cling to something that no longer works, the faster everything around it begins to crumble. Every slow drive without identity, every press conference with the same line, every wasted Sunday where fans leave the stadium early, wondering why they even showed up in the first place. Those things build up, and they point to a coach who's not adjusting, just enduring. And when you're in the middle of a collapse like this, endurance isn't enough. Stefanski may be trying to survive the season, but the fans were expecting a leader trying to win it. Let's flip this. What if not playing Shedeur is what's actually putting Stefanski's job at the greatest risk? Because when everything around you is failing, and you're refusing to try the one thing every fan, analyst, and player seems curious about Shedeur, you're not calming the situation. You're making yourself the villain. You're no longer just the guy who's losing games with a struggling quarterback. You become the guy who's choosing to keep losing when you didn't have to. And whether Stefanski sees it or not, that perception matters. It changes everything: fan trust, locker room morale, media scrutiny, even internal conversations behind closed doors with upper management. Because patience? That works when people see growth. But the Browns have shown none. No progress, no spark, no adaptation, just a flat line. And week after week, Stefanski tosses out corporate coach speak like, "We'll get that cleaned up," or "It starts with me," but nothing ever actually changes. Eventually, that doesn't sound like humility. It sounds like a man hoping the problem fixes itself so he doesn't have to make the tough calls. And fans have caught on. They're not calling for Shedeur because they think he's a miracle worker. They're calling for him because nothing else has worked, and the coach refuses to try something new. It's not a gamble anymore. It's the only play left. The longer Stefanski clings to Gabriel, the more it looks like he's protecting his own pride, not the team's future. And nothing ignites fan outrage faster than a coach who seems more loyal to his playbook than to results. Especially when it feels like ownership is watching from the luxury box, saying nothing while the stadium slowly empties around them. So let's be clear. if Stefanski really believes he's safe, if he thinks being careful will buy him another season, then he's already lost. This isn't about job security anymore. This is about relevance. If fans stop showing up, the front office starts paying attention. If players stop buying in, the locker room fractures. And if the losses pile up behind a quarterback no one believes in except the coach, there's no speech that saves you from that. At this point, there's one decision Stefanski hasn't made, and it's the only one that could still shift the narrative in his favor. Give Shadūr a chance. Not because he's the savior, but because refusing to try is becoming the one thing Browns fans and football fans as a whole can't forgive. After all the shouting, the hashtags, the empty seats, and the $6 tickets, here's the truth. No one at the top seems to understand. Browns fans aren't asking for perfection. They've never asked for that. They've been through more than most fan bases will ever experience: blown leads, heartbreak seasons, hopeless rebuilds, and they've still shown up, game after game, season after season. This fan base has seen 0-16. They've seen chaos. And through it all, what kept them coming back wasn't wins, it was heart. It was pride. It was the identity of being a Browns fan in a town where football means something. So when the team struggles, that comes with the territory. But when the team gives them nothing to believe in, that's when fans start walking away. Because what most people don't realize is, supporting this franchise has never been about having a winning team. It's been about having a team that fights, one that tries, one that reflects the city it represents. A blue-collar town that works hard, scrapes for everything it gets, and never stops swinging. Right now, that fight is gone, and fans feel it. They're not angry because they expect a Super Bowl. They're angry because they expect effort. And what they see right now is a team that's stuck in cruise control, led by a coach who refuses to listen, backed by a system that feels more corporate than competitive. It's like passion has been replaced with process. Vision has been replaced with routine. Every week feels like the last. Every game blends into the next. And the worst part isn't the losing, it's the emptiness. No spark, no direction, no connection to the crowd. So what do the fans really want? They want a coach who's honest, who speaks like he sees what they see, not someone hiding behind the same recycled phrases. They want an offense that takes chances, that isn't afraid to push the ball, that plays to win, not just to survive. They want a team that adapts, not one that stubbornly sticks to a failing formula because someone's afraid of being wrong. And most of all, they want something new to root for. That's why the conversation keeps returning to Shadūr Sanders. Not because he's the second coming of Joe Montana, not because he's built to save a franchise on his own, but because he represents the possibility of something different. Fans don't expect him to walk into the huddle and fix everything in 4 quarters. What they want is progress, risk, an emotional change in direction. Getting Shedeur on the field doesn't even have to lead to immediate success. It just changes the mood. It says to fans, "We hear you, we see what's happening, and we're not afraid to pivot. We're not afraid to admit that this isn't working, and we're willing to find out what might." Right now, that kind of message means more than any single win, because fans aren't tuning out because they hate their team. They're tuning out because the team has stopped speaking their language. And in a blue-collar city like Cleveland, that language is effort. It's grit. It's honesty. Not just in how you play and how you communicate when things aren't going right. Instead, they get stammered press conferences with no direction, no updates, no accountability, no reflection of the blood, sweat, and loyalty those fans give up, week after week, year after year. So when fans say, "I'm done," they don't mean forever. They just mean, show me something, show me you care. And that's what leadership in this organization still doesn't get. They're trying to build trust with slow progress and silent walls. But fans build loyalty through risk, vulnerability, and bold action. That doesn't mean making careless decisions. It means caring enough to try. Because when a team fights like hell, fans stand behind them even in a losing season. But when a team stands still while everything falls apart, that's when they walk out. And that's exactly what's happening now. Cleveland isn't demanding a championship. They're not demanding superstardom. They're just asking for a reason to believe this team still feels like theirs. Before the culture is gone, before the trust is gone, before the fans are too. At the end of the day, this was never just about $6 tickets. It was about a fan base that's been pushed to its limit, one that's tired of waiting, tired of being ignored, and tired of watching a team with so much potential be run into the ground by fear and indecision. But the craziest part? It's not too late. The stadium isn't empty because fans stopped caring. It's empty because they're still waiting for a sign that someone inside this locker room is willing to fight, take risks, and give them something real. One spark, one decision. That's all it takes. Start Shedeur. Tell the fans their voices matter. Show them that this team still has the courage to rebuild trust, to lead with purpose, not just process. Because when Browns fans believe again, they show up like no one else. And all they need now is a reason to... If you're tired of the excuses and ready for this team to finally wake up, like, comment, and subscribe. Drop your thoughts below. Is Shedeur the spark the Browns need? Or is this season already lost?